Good morning, everyone. I am Brianna Rossa, the Office and Events Coordinator here at the Small Business Center. And today I have Amelia Campbell from BDC to essentially talk about the top 5 trends and kind of how we can prepare for essentially our businesses moving forward into 2023. But before I introduce Amelia, I'd actually like to introduce Barb Wilson. She's the Executive Assistant and Loans Administrator at Trendval, and she'd like to say a few words.
Thank you so much, Brianna. Am I here? Would you like me?
Okay.
Okay, great. So I am really excited about today's workshop, Amelia. We have the pleasure of working with Amelia every day, and she's definitely a very bright woman who has a lot of wonderful things to share for us. We know the world is changing. We've been through a lot these last couple of years, and we're really excited to see what you share with us today. So thank you for being here, Amelia, and hosting. For those of you who don't know, Trendval is a not-for-profit community futures corporation. We've been supporting local entrepreneurs for over 30 years. Our service area includes the city of Belleville, the city of Quinte West, the municipality of Sterling Rawdon, Kainanega Township, Kainanega Mohawks of the Bay of Quinte, and the town of Deseronto. So we offer business resources and financing to fit your needs. We've also launched a new program recently, which we're quite excited about. It's called Mentor Connect Quinte, where we match local mentors and mentees together. If you'd like to get any information on what I've shared this morning, I'd love the opportunity to talk to you. You can contact me after the workshop at bwilson@trendval.ca or by calling 613-961-7999. Again, my name is Barb Wilson from Trendval, and Amelia, thank you so much. We're looking forward to today's workshop.
Thank you so much, Barb. And before we get started, I just want to let everyone know, in person and online, we are going to save all questions to the very end. So if you do have any questions, just jot them down, and then we'll answer them right at the very end. And I will stop recording as well. So if you don't want to be on YouTube, you're more than welcome to ask the questions at the very end, just so you're not recorded and posted online. I would like to introduce Amelia Campbell. She is the Small Business Account Manager at BDC, so Business Development Bank of Canada. So we're going to talk essentially about the 5 major trends that we're going to essentially see coming into 2023. We're already starting to see them now, but they're going to be a little bit more prominent in 2023. So essentially, we're going to see those labor shortages, supply chain distribution, digital adoption, climate crisis, and of course, business acquisitions. And I will now pass this over to Amelia.
Thank you, Brianna. Sorry about last week. I was sick and I had no voice. So this week is a little better. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. The past 24 months have fast forwarded long-term disruption. Canadian entrepreneurs are facing unprecedented challenges, but there are opportunities in every crisis. And I want to talk to you today about the 5 major trends that we see and will have an effect on Canadian entrepreneurs and your business for the next year and into the future. So let's get started. So I'll begin by discussing Canada's post-pandemic road to recovery. Then we'll outline the 5 major trends, as well as some ways to prepare for and take advantage of these trends to better position your business for the future. So let's start. Despite recovery, things aren't going back to the way they were before. The effects of the pandemic will linger, shaping the way Canadians conduct business perhaps for forever. As well, the war in the Ukraine has introduced new economic stresses and disruptions that could have significant impacts on Canadian businesses and consumers. So we are also facing rising inflation and rising interest rates. To succeed in this quickly changing business landscape, you'll need to both be adaptable and prepared. With this in mind, let's discuss the trends we expect to see shaping Canadian economic growth in the months and years to come. So, number 1, the first major trend is, to no surprise to any of you, the persistent shortage of labor across Canada. It's been getting worse for years and isn't going away anytime soon. So let's see why it's happening and how it's affecting businesses and what you can do. So 55% of Canadian small and medium-sized businesses told us in a survey that they're finding it hard to hire employees. I'm sure many of the business owners listening to us have this issue. Many companies have been unable to fill jobs for 3 to 4 months now, and more than a quarter are struggling to retain workers. This leaves existing workers and entrepreneurs with no choice but to work longer hours themselves. Many are delaying and refusing orders, and the situation could get even worse as the economy recovers to pre-pandemic levels. So here's a graph. The labor shortage isn't a problem that began with the pandemic. It will remain with us for years into the future. An aging population and baby boomers leaving the workforce translate into low labor force growth. Growth is expected to stay low, as the dotted line in the chart shows, into from 2021 on to 2036. Many entrepreneurs we talk to think the labor shortage is a temporary trend that will go away. Unfortunately, it looks like it won't go away for at least the next 15 years. So Canada's labor force problem didn't begin with the pandemic, like we said. It is the result of the aging population and related declining labor force participation, which started over 20 years ago. The pandemic has amplified the problem by destabilizing an already precarious situation. The pandemic just made the existing labor shortage trend worse, as you can see in this graph. It sharply curtailed population growth. If the pandemic hadn't happened, we would have 440,000 more people in Canada. We did advanced statistical analysis to find the most effective strategies that you can take advantage of to find and keep the employees that you need. These are our findings or strategies you can implement now to prepare for and address for labor shortages. The first 3 solutions deal with difficulties in hiring. They are invest in technology and automation, use a formal hiring process, and expand your hiring pool. The 4th strategy addresses retention, offer a total compensation package. So when it comes to recruitment, investing in technology and automation is the single most effective step you can take in your business. Entrepreneurs who invest in new technologies and automation strategies find it twice as easy to hire workers, yet only 10% of entrepreneurs have done it. For small and medium-sized enterprises, the upfront cost has been cited as the biggest challenge to integrated technology and automation into their business. But recently, with the development of cloud-based platforms and other software solutions, more and more of these tools are accessible to even the smallest of companies. Automation isn't just about robots. It's any technology that completes repetitive tasks with reduced human input. It frees up workers for value-added tasks. It can be as simple as using software to automate sales projections and customer service, or it can be as complex as using computerized machining tools to automate a machine shop. Some other examples would be chatbots and automated text messages, automated email marketing, touchscreen order terminals, and self-checkout registers. Automation can also improve productivity and satisfaction for employees who are freed up to pursue more interesting and engaging tasks, and it reduces errors. I want to give you a real-life example of what automation has meant for one Canadian small business. Miracle Prescription, a bustling North Vancouver pharmacy owned by Arash and his wife, was hit hard by the pandemic, losing 80% of its pre-pandemic employees during the crisis. Even after increasing salaries and benefits, it was difficult to find workers. Even when they did make a new hire, it would take weeks of training to get them up to speed. Because of this, the business owners experienced a massive increase in workload, up to 180 hours per week between the 2 of them, and even bigger increase in their stress levels. Finding themselves completely overwhelmed, the 2 decided to invest in an automated medication packaging machine that automatically fills orders and packages prescriptions for their customers. A pharmacist still checks over each package, but the busy work is completely removed from the equation, saving 80% in processing times. And a bonus, the machine makes 90% fewer errors than a human doing the task manually. When it comes to recruitment, investing in technology and automation is the single most effective step you can take in your business. Entrepreneurs who invest in new technologies and automation strategies find it twice as easy to hire workers. Yet, only 10% of entrepreneurs have done it. For many small and medium-sized enterprises, the upfront cost has been cited as the biggest challenge to integrated technologies and automation into their business. But recently, with the development of cloud-based platforms and other software solutions, more and more of these tools are becoming more accessible to even the smallest businesses. So entrepreneurs often have a harder time hiring. They lack the size, brand recognition, and HR staff of larger businesses, and as a result, rely heavily on informal hiring processes. 77% of entrepreneurs polled by the BDC reported that they had no formal hiring process. But this should not neglect your hiring processes. 52% of companies who adopt a formal hiring process report finding it easy to hire workers. That's compared to 42% of companies without a formal hiring process. As with automation, some extra effort upfront goes a long way towards setting your business up for success. So target underused labor force, step number 3. Such as target immigrants, retired workers, and young workers. But despite the greater availability of underrepresented groups, businesses still aren't turning to them to address labor shortages. Only 18% of entrepreneurs told BDC they plan to recruit immigrants to deal with labor shortages. This is a significant missed opportunity. Business owners need to recognize that Canada's population is changing. By 2032, immigrants will account for up to 80% of Canada's population growth. Around 1 in 4 Canadians will be born in another country. Businesses that require the coming changes will be better positioned. Research shows that companies with diverse workforces have higher financial returns, productivity and innovation, and they're also more likely to understand increasingly diverse markets. Step number 4, offering a total compensation package. In today's competitive labor market, it is more important than ever to offer a total compensation package, which should include competitive salary and benefits, flexible work arrangements, and mentoring opportunities. Companies that offer competitive salaries and benefits are 1.4 times more likely to say it's easy to retain workers. They're also 1.7 times more likely to have sales growth above the industry average. You may be thinking that your business can't afford higher pay rates, but consider how much you're losing in turnover costs. Onboarding takes time and money, and it saps productivity from your other employees while they train new hires. Companies that offer flexible work arrangements are 1.4 times more likely to find retaining workers easy. Ones that offer mentoring are 1.3 times more likely to find it easy to retain workers. To offer a quick recap, the 3 solutions that have been shown to reduce the impact of labor shortages on small and medium-sized enterprises are adopting new technologies and automation, using formal hiring process, and targeting the underused groups of workers and offering a total compensation package. So, second major trend that we will highlight again is, to no surprise, the disruption of supply chains. The pandemic threw supply chains into turmoil. We are still recovering from that, and the war in the Ukraine threatens to disrupt supply chains even more. So let's see what impacts businesses have felt and what they can do. So most small and medium-sized enterprises are reporting supply chain problems. 60% report longer delivery times. 55% say they have problems obtaining finished products and components of raw materials, and only 25% report no issues. Disruptions are much worse for businesses who rely on suppliers outside of Canada. 74% report longer delivery times. That's compared to 41% of businesses that rely only on Canadian suppliers. 41% is still a lot, but it's about half as many businesses reporting these problems. It's the same problems that are getting finished. It's the same for problems getting finished product. 45% of businesses using outside suppliers report problems compared to only 25% of businesses with Canadian suppliers. So supply disruptions are heavily impacting businesses. Impacts include businesses having to increase their own delivery times, raise prices, finding new suppliers, pay premiums to get supplies on time, and losing customers or sales. Some sectors are especially hit hard, especially manufacturing and construction. Fragile supply chains could be further impacted by the war in the Ukraine. Impacts could range from turmoil in commodities markets to inflationary pressures and ripple effects of sanctions on Russia. So here are some of the most effective strategies to help you address supply chain disruption. Reach out to suppliers, optimize your operations, diversify and reshore your supplier pool, talk with your clients about disruptions, and plan to mitigate cash flow impacts. Here's the story of one entrepreneur who made some moves that helped him achieve efficiency gains to fight both labor shortages and supply chain disruption. His name is Mickey McLeod, CEO of Salt Spring Coffee. This BC company produces organic fair trade coffee, paying for excessive overtime and dealing with stagnating sales. McLeod wanted to find ways to reduce costs and improve margins and profitability. He also wanted to reduce the stress on his management team, which was dealing with tight shipping deadlines. McLeod turned to BDC's operational efficiency experts for help. They advised him on how to improve productivity without needing to invest in expensive new equipment. The company was to grow its productivity by 20% by reducing costly waste. The result was that his business developed excess production capacity so it could generate more sales. McLeod was also able to reduce stress for his team as the company adopted a mindset of continual improvement. So a third trend businesses should keep an eye on is digital adoption. Digital technology is more critical than ever for your company's success. It covers everything from your company's website to accounting software to smart robotics. As we'll see, Canadian businesses have some catching up to do in adopting digital technology. So let's see what opportunities they could be pursuing. We did a BDC study on digital adoption by Canadian businesses. We did a survey, in November and December last year and asked 1,500 small and medium-sized enterprises about their level of digital adoption and how digital technology has helped them. Our survey found that 9 out of 10 Canadian businesses invested in digital technology last year. Their average investment was $118,000. We divided the businesses into 4 digital profiles. Advanced companies effectively use digital technologies to transform themselves and score an average of 98 of 120 for digital maturity. Only 5% of Canadian businesses fall into this category. Emerging companies have started to apply digital technology across their entire business. They score 72 out of 120. 32% of businesses are in this group. Beginners often use digital technology in customer-related activities. This is mainly to digitize sales and marketing. Their average score was 45 out of 120. About half businesses fit into this profile. And finally, we have the latecomers. They use little or no digital technology and score just 20 of 120. 1 in 5 businesses fall into this category. So our research has found significant benefits for companies that are digitally mature. These businesses report that they were more likely to have high sales and are more resilient. They were more likely to export, and they were more likely to have developed or introduced an innovation. More than half of digitally advanced companies enjoyed revenue growth of 10% or more. That was true for only 7% of latecomer businesses. Latecomer businesses were also 8 times more likely than advanced companies to experience declining or stagnated revenue. Digitally advanced companies were more than 5 times more likely to export. And digitally advanced companies were also 2 times more likely to be resilient than latecomers. Digitally advanced businesses focus on innovation as a differentiator. 59% have adopted new technologies or processes to become more competitive. This strategy is over 10 times more common for digitally advanced businesses than latecomers. They're also 10 times more likely to complete or accelerate the launch of new goods or services. They're 10 times more likely to acquire a license or patent, and 30 times more likely to acquire or merge with another company. So businesses that are digitally advanced perform significantly better. We looked at the effect of moving up the digital maturity ladder by just one category. For example, from the latecomer to the beginner. Doing this makes a business 81% more likely to have rapid growth in sales. You're probably already doing a lot of digital adoption in your company, thanks to the pandemic. The health crisis accelerated digital adoption as many businesses had to shift to remote work using an online collaboration of tools and virtual meetings. Many Canadian entrepreneurs plan to continue relying on remote work even when the pandemic eases. Remote work isn't about physical distancing. Studies have found that remote workers are more productive and employees themselves are asking for it. 74% of businesses are expected to remain reliant on remote work to some degree even after the pandemic ends. That's up to 50% more than before the pandemic. Since the lockdown in 2020, Canadians have gotten used to the idea of remote work and they like it. 54% of Canadians say access to remote work is a determining factor in applying for or accepting a new job. Remote work is also a factor in retention. 55% of employees say they want to continue working remotely as much as they do now or more. Consumers are increasingly buying online. Business owners need to be online too. Digital adoption shouldn't be done in an ad hoc way. It's important to plan out your strategy to make sure it lines up with your overall business goals. Because of the lack of planning, a lot of businesses wind up with a hodgepodge of costly systems that don't perform as expected. Your first step should be to assess your overall goals on how digital technology can help you reach them. Next, develop a digital adoption plan. This means concrete projects for the next 12 to 24 months, along with who is responsible for each one and a timeline. Finally, hold regular follow-up meetings to keep an eye on how the plan is being implemented and catch any problems quickly before. Be sure to create a new plan and keep innovating. Digital adoption isn't a one-off event. It's a continual improvement process. So getting employees to buy in is a crucial for success in any digital adoption plan project. Employees' resistance can spell doom for your digital adoption effort. It's important to involve your team from the start and keep them involved throughout the entire process. Digital adoption can be disruptive for employees and require a lot of effort. You'll have better odds of success if you get their input, explain why the changes are important, and how they'll make life easier, and provide your team with adequate training. Digital transformation is when you're ready to go further. It involves changing the entire culture of your company to put data and technology at the heart of the business. It's not about just adopting a specific piece of software or technology. It's about rethinking how you engage with customers conduct operations, and design your products to include technology along the way. At the heart of digital transformation, creating a culture of change and innovation. So, one company that followed these steps was Cormet of Newmarket, Ontario. They are a quickly growing wholesaler of beauty projects in Asia. Cormet was met to growing pains. Business processes required a lot of manual intervention, and systems were not integrated and had limited functionality. The company's CEO, Ryan Peng, wanted to buy an enterprise resource planning system. This software can integrate This software can integrate a company's different system into a single platform, but it can be challenging to choose the right software and get expected benefits. Peng hired BDC's digital technology experts to give him a hand. They walked him through the steps I talked about in the last slide, starting from his strategy and his business needs. They helped Peng find the right ERP system and implement it. Peng was able to save time, minimize risk, and keep costs down while obtaining the advantageous supplier agreement. This allowed him to adopt the complex new system in a relatively short time period. So the Government of Canada's Digital Adoption Program, also known as the CDAP program, can also help. It aims to facilitate the adoption of digital technologies and improve business competitiveness. The program is divided into two tracks. The businesses eligible for track 2 could access a grant that covers up to 90% of the cost for the services of a digital advisor to help you develop a digital adoption plan up to a maximum value of $15,000. A 0% interest loan from BDC of up to $100,000 to facilitate the acquisition of new technologies such as software or IT equipment. And I believe there's also a $7,500 grant to hire a student to help you implement this plan as well. It's a terrific program that you should strongly consider to enjoy, and many benefits of digital adoption and strengthen your business. So, and now for our next trend, the climate emergency. Studies have found that Canadian entrepreneurs are committed to reducing the environmental impact of their activities and have already begun taking steps to do so. Pressure will only increase pressure on businesses to improve their environmental performance. So the green transition is happening in Canada and worldwide. Consumers and employees and partners are demanding change. Businesses have to act now, or risk being unprepared, you will be left behind. Canada has targeted 40 to 45% reduction in emissions from 2005 levels by 2030. Zero net emissions by 2050. Governments are expected to enact new regulations to accelerate the energy transition in transport, buildings, and industry. Customers and employees and partners are increasingly demanding that companies adopt sustainable practices. The changes present significant opportunities for businesses, entrepreneurs, and Act Now will be more future ready and achieve significant benefits. Customers and employees are taking notice when companies do the right thing. Companies can also lower their costs by reducing waste and energy use. This is especially important now as the war in the Ukraine has led to higher energy prices with elevated volatility possible for an extended period of time. If you're just starting out on your environment journey, and your first step should be to get a detailed overview of your current situation. Checklists and assessments are available online for free, or you can hire an expert to get a more comprehensive and accurate picture. Then you can think about ways to reduce your environmental impact. For example, you can start by measuring your energy and water use. Many businesses are surprised by how much their energy and waste cost them. This can inspire your team to look for ways to use more renewable energy or cut down on water consumption. One assessment you may want to consider is the B Corp assessment. It's a free and confidential online questionnaire that lets you examine your company's environmental, social, and governance performance, as well as the impact of your products or services. The assessment is part of the certification process to become a B Corp, also known as a beneficial corporation. B Corp measures their performance with a triple bottom line: profit, social, and environmental impact. But you don't have to be pursuing certification to do the B Corp assessment. Your answers to the questionnaire lead to a report that scores your company on its social responsibility, environmental sustainability, governance. It also gives you ideas on how to improve. Taking the assessment is valuable for all businesses, regardless of your stage of how environmental maturity. It tells you you're doing compared to peers and where you can improve. You can learn and access the assessment on our website at bec.ca also. So for companies that are in the transition stage of their eco journey, there are many ways to take the commitment a step further. One is to begin eco-designing your products or services. This involves analyzing their complete life cycle from raw materials to end of life, with a view of reducing environmental impact on every point. You can also implement an environmental management system. It's an excellent way to introduce environmental monitoring goals and audit processes throughout your company. Finally, you can measure your carbon footprint and do a waste management audit. Both of these steps will give you ideas to reduce your environmental impact and data gauge your processes. Sorry. If you are an environmental leader, it means your company has been working hard on many projects and it is sustainable. It is a sustainability champion. Your challenge now is to keep up with momentum. A good way to do this is by obtaining an environmental certification, confirming your leadership. The B Corp certification is an excellent choice. Another option is the globally recognized ISO environmental certification. As a leader, you should be staying on top of best practices, innovations, and environmental laws in your industry by conducting environmental intelligence. A commitment to environmentalism is a shift in perspective, not just a list of items to be checked off, and is not a one-time initiative. You should always be looking at new or more efficient ways to make an impact in your industry. Finally, you can also push your environmental stewardship to another level by sharing your experience and expertise with other companies that are in the earlier stages. Here are some steps your business can take. Reducing waste, reducing energy, reducing water use, encouraging your team, and using recycled materials. Here are more advanced steps that fewer than half Canadian small businesses are adopting. How do you compare? Using clean energy, choosing sustainable suppliers, designing eco-friendly products, measuring your carbon footprint, and being zero waste. One example of a forward-looking mentality is Annie Rouleau. She is the founder of the Unscented Company, a Montreal maker of fragrance-free, eco-friendly products such as laundry detergents, body lotions, and shampoo. She found ways to reduce the use of plastic and glue for labeling. She also focuses on local sourcing. Rouleau took her commitment further by getting her by becoming B Corp certified. Customers are responding favorably, and the company has grown quickly and is now selling in large chains. So the last trend that we'll focus on is business acquisition. A wave of business ownership transitions is coming in the next few years in Canada. Fueling it are changing demographics, low interest rates, and strong economic growth. Canadian entrepreneurs are older than the Canadian workforce, 59% of aged 50 and up versus only 32% of Canadian workforce. Over 12% of Canadian entrepreneurs are 65 and over. The pandemic has also made some rethink their plans, further boosting the supply of businesses for sale. Over the next 5 years, 9% of small and medium-sized enterprises in Canada are expected to come up for sale externally, that is, to buyers other than family or management. This represents 116,000 businesses across Canada. Business acquisition rebounded quickly after the early waves of the pandemic. The volume and value of Canadian mergers and acquisitions under 100 million rebounded quickly after the lockdown in the second quarter of 2020. The volume of transactions remains high. Sectors that did well during the pandemic are seeing more mergers and acquisitions. Healthcare companies increased their share of transaction volume from 7% to 19% since 2016. And information and communication technology companies went up from 8% to 15%. Entrepreneurs who grow their business through acquisition are twice as likely to enjoy above average sales growth as those who grow organically. Also, entrepreneurs who made one or more acquisitions in the past 10 years were 1.4 times more likely than others to have seen 5% or higher sales growth over the past year. Acquisitions have other benefits. We surveyed entrepreneurs who have made several acquisitions in the past 10 years. 48% reported increased profitability and 41% reported greater market share. Six tips for a successful merger or acquisition. Consider creating a strategic plan. Contact the seller directly. Involve your banker early. Don't try to save money on due diligence. Keep your emotions in check and build flexibility into your plan. A well thought out acquisition strategy helped the company Ansan Traffic Control dramatically increase its market share. Ansan is a large provider of traffic control services in BC. It was experiencing rapid growth and wanted to keep expanding. It approached BDC for financing for a well-planned strategy to acquire a major competitor. The acquisition allowed Ansan to achieve significant synergies that helped accelerate exponential growth. The transaction was so successful that Ansan was able to acquire a second company a few months later, further solidifying its position as an industry leader. So to sum up, here are 5 trends shaping growth opportunities in Canada today and in the coming few years. Labor shortages, supply chain disruption, digital adoption, climate crisis, and business acquisitions. I hope you've given you some tools to prepare and take advantage of these trends to better position your business for the future. And what should you do next? After we're done today, I hope you'll be better equipped to think about how to respond and discuss with your team the right strategies for your business moving forward. And now question.
So I'm gonna stop recording, so. You're just not. Go.